Good evening. I would like to welcome you all to our first full Borough Council meeting, especially our honoured guests, the Lord Lieutenant and the High Sheriff of Northamptonshire. But before I open this meeting, may I ask my chaplain, Reverend David Walsh, for the final time to lead us in prayer.
I'm starting with some words not from the Bible, but from a writer heavily influenced by the Bible, a poem by T.S. Eliot, named after a place just 25 miles away from Kettering. What we call the beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. As we reach one end, our minds go back in time, perhaps back to the moment each of us first joined the council or attended our first meeting, back to 1974 and the setting up of the new enlarged council, back beyond 1974 to the 5 individual predecessor councils. We give thanks for all who have served the borough during that time, for all that has been achieved. We remember especially those no longer with us. Let us pray. Creator God, you are present at our beginnings and our endings, and you travel ahead of us as we journey. Bless this borough of Kettering, its towns and villages, all who live and work here. We give thanks for all from this borough, even up to the present day, who have inspired, educated and improved the wider world. And we ask that this may long continue. We ask for local leadership, which is principled, inspired, and competent to represent and serve all in our towns and villages. And we do so as we try to follow the example of the carpenter from Nazareth, Jesus. And we pray this in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Walsh. David, if I may, I would just like to say a huge thank you for once again being my chaplain. Now, I would like you to open the package, if you already haven't done so, that I sent you.
I showed great patience.
I'm so pleased.
Self-control, the fruits of the Holy Spirit. I don't always display them, but I have on this occasion. Oh, I see. Wow.
Now, this gift that from the Mayoress and I originates from the estate of one of your past church wardens, Mr. Frank Folds.
Oh, wow.
I feel it's only fitting that these books now belong to you.
Oh, I'm really touched, dear Frank. He was such a wonderful man.
So
Thank you very much. Can I just show people what I've got here? City of London churches. Coventry Cathedral, where I graduated in 1981 from the University of Warwick. Oh gosh, the Manners of the Sacrist of Peterborough. How amazing. A whole new world to discover. 2 more to go. I can't see what this is. The Churches of the City of London. St. Peter and St. Paul Kettering. Excellent choice. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very
well,
touched.
I hope that you enjoy reading them.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you at our full council meeting, presiding over us in prayer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, apologies, please. Are there any?
I haven't received any apologies, Mr. Mayor, but if there are any from councillors, I'll be happy to record them.
Thank you, Anne. So obviously we're a full contingent this evening. I wouldn't expect anything else, councillors. Approve the minutes. Does anybody wish to, if all looked at them, do you wish me to sign them? Are they all right? Has anybody got a problem with them? I'll take that as a yes.
I'm not seeing any complaints, Mr. Mayor.
Declarations of interest. Are there any?
Again, I'm not seeing any hands going up.
Right, we're now going to move on to a young lady who is going to sing us a song called Goodbye, My Friend. It took the mayoress and I nearly a week of going through certain songs that we felt might be apt for this evening's meeting. And when we heard the lyrics to this song, we both looked at each other and said, yeah, this is the one. So will you please listen to the lyrics and the extraordinary voice of Vicky Betts.
Can you all see that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Here we go.
You know it's just not easy. This place will never seem without you. No one to tell us that we go out and the life we share.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, we can't hear it. I don't think David's shared the volume. You have to share the volume on the video.
Bear with me.
Can you bear with us, please? We all have that problem, actually. I thought I'd gone deaf.
David, if you remember last time we did a video, you had to share the video.
I did. I set it up. Let's try it again and see if it works. I apologise for the lack of sound. Let's try again. Give me a thumbs up if this works.
That's better.
Oh, the winds of change are blowing. Sometimes it seems like all good things must come to an end. We all knew this day was coming, but you know it's just not easy to say goodbye to a friend.
So Adam's can't hear.
This place will never be the same without you in it. No one to tell us like it is and like it isn't. The way you do when seasons change, the years go by, and the lives we share, and now the time has come to say goodbye, my friend. What will we do without you? It's been good, but now the time has come to say goodbye. Goodbye, my friend. Oh, you're on a real tight ship. You're a mover shows right on through. You are loved and respected, and with hearts of admiration, we want you to know we don't want you to go. This place will never be the same without you in it. No one to tell us like it is and like it isn't, the way you do when seasons change, the years go by, the lives we share, and now the time has come to say goodbye, my friend. What will we do without you? It's been good, but now the time has come to say goodbye. Goodbye, my friend. We know you really won't be that far away, but we'll be missing you. No one can replace, but there you go. When seasons change, the years go by, and the lives we share, and now the time has come to say goodbye, my friend. What will we do without you? It's been good, but now the time has come to say goodbye. Goodbye, my friend. We don't want to say goodbye, my friend. Goodbye.
Well, councillors, I hope you all got the gist of that song, which was Goodbye, My Friends. And unfortunately, technology today is probably not what it should be, but I hope you got the gist of it. Obviously, had we been under normal circumstances, she would have been in the chamber singing that beautiful song, and you would have heard every word she said. I'll move on. Now, this evening we have the Lord Lieutenant of Northamptonshire, Mr. James Saunders Watson, here, and I understand that James would like to say a few words to this council. James.
Thank you very much indeed, James, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. And this is a very historic meeting, the last full council of Kettering Borough Council. And I was absolutely delighted to be invited by the Mayor to open this final meeting before the borough becomes part of the new Northamptonshire Unitary Authority on the 1st of April. Since Kettering Borough Council was created in its current form in 1973, as already referred to by Reverend David Walsh, when the urban district councils of Burton Attenborough, Desborough, Rothwell, Kettering, along with the rural district of Kettering Rural brought together, the Borough Council has delivered critical services to the local community. Kettering Borough is composed of dynamic, modernising towns juxtaposed with the enduring rural communities, so typical of the county of Northamptonshire. And over the last 48 years, there has been significant change, particularly as the borough has had to adapt to the changing economic environment. From a deep heritage embedded in the leather and engineering businesses to a modern, dynamic, growing community at the heart of the county. As members of the community, we are grateful for the leadership and contribution that the members and officers of the borough have given over these many years. And it is reflected in the strong position that you leave the borough to the new Northamptonshire Authority, a testament to all of your efforts. And if I might be allowed to give a little bit of an advert. As a county, we've always been very strong with our voluntary organisations. But during the recent coronavirus pandemic, we've seen all corners of our society mobilise together to protect and care for the most vulnerable. To date, we've recognised over 400 individuals and teams with the Rose of Northamptonshire Award which the High Sheriff, myself and the County Council have been presenting. And these are for people and teams that have gone above and beyond, demonstrating selflessness and compassion for their community throughout the past year. And this number is only set to grow. I, for one, have been truly inspired by the work our community has undertaken. And I'm pleased to say that the word has been getting out about these awards and that the nominations continue to pour in. The borough has played its role as a core component of the county of Northamptonshire, a county that has a rich and deep history, so evident in the variety of historic buildings and strong heritage. But it's not just physical assets that it has, it's got a powerful and diverse community. And today we rejoice in the legacy of the arts, culture, industry and community. And Northamptonshire and the Borough of Kettering are so full of potential. I, for one, look forward to working with the new authority, and I'm confident that the strength of the historic ties across our county will continue to flourish. But today particularly, I want to say how grateful I am to all the councillors and staff across the borough who've given so many years of loyal public service to our community. And today we recognise all that you and they have contributed. I thank you for the positive difference that each of you has made to the Borough of Kettering, and I wish you all the very best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Very kind words indeed. And thank you very much for joining us this evening. It is a high honour. Thank you very much. I now am going to ask the High Sheriff of Northamptonshire, Mr. Paul Parsons. I believe he would like to say a few words. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mayor, for inviting me on this historic day, the Borough of Kettering. One necessarily tinged with some sadness as the prize chapter closes. That said, as ever the case, the closing of one chapter ushers the opening of a new one, itself offering optimism and hope for what is to come. I'd like to say a few words touching on the Borough Council's motto, Progressio et Concordia, progress and concord, or in other words, progress and harmony between people. The motto, as mottos tend to do, speaks in lofty ideals. However, it's those very lofty ideals which so often motivate those who give of their time in public service. And as reflected in tonight's first motion, the people of Kettering owe much to the selfless work that's been undertaken on their behalf by borough councillors and officers over the years. A brief study of the history of Kettering reveals a number of reverses over the centuries, from each one of which the town has recovered and indeed progressed. In 1665, Kettering suffered an outbreak of plague, which killed 80 people. There followed 3 years later the funding by Edmund Sawyer for building the almshouses. Kettering suffered fires in 1744 and 1766. Each time it soon recovered, and by the 1801 census, Kettering population of over 3,000. In the 19th century, the gold wool industry in Kettering collapsed, but the town was transformed by the booming boot and shoe industry. Speaking to the mayor tonight, he confirmed that cycle of renewal and progress continues, and he describes Kettering as being at the centre of the universe, at least in logistics terms, if not in others. And there are different ways, each an example of new beginnings and progress rising from old. In terms of concord, Kettering, of course, has a very proud history in the fight against slavery through William Knibb, who was born in Market Street, playing a significant, pioneering, eventually triumphant role in the 19th century campaign for the abolition of slavery. A much more recent example of the promotion of harmony between people and peoples is the equally pioneering work undertaken by Professor Sarah Gilbert, the daughter of Kettering, in the development of the Oxford vaccine, now produced at cost around the world. Professor Gilbert's work is, I understand, due to be publicly recognised here next week. The town council to follow will, of course, have different powers and different responsibilities. But it could do much worse than be guided by and adopt the lofty ideals of the Borough Council's motto of Progresso in Concordia. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I do have to say that I've only spoken to you on the phone on various occasions. I have met you once on a civic duty of, as you said earlier, planting a tree. But it's as if I've known you for years. And I'm such a pity that your year has had to be as it has to be, because I'm sure we would have both done very many more civic things together. And I thank you for being here this evening. Thank you.
James, may I just add one point that James Watson mentioned in relation to the Rose and Northamptonshire Awards. Those awards are being distributed to men and women from across the county, including a very large number of from Kettering. And it's been a truly humbling and life-affirming experience to see what has been done in the sense of community that exists here. I wanted to add that because it has been very much the case.
Thank you very much for that. Well, it's all down to me now, councillors. Little did I know on becoming a councillor back in 2015 that I would have the undesirable task of bringing Kettering Borough Council to its conclusion as its last borough mayor. I have had a number of sleepless nights on considering how to give this momentous occasion its justification and celebrate all this council has achieved over the last 47 years. To pay homage to all past and present councillors and officers who have given their time and effort to make this borough a place to be proud to live in and work in is no mean feat. Now then, this evening, the Mayoress has asked me not to become too emotional, a task I will find very difficult to comply with. Councillors, on all political fronts, this borough council over time has lost a considerable amount of councillors and officers whose input has influenced the success of this borough. They are too numerous to name singularly, so I therefore would ask you all to join me in a minute's silence to reflect and remember. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Bain, I would like to thank you for being my deputy this year, and I know under normal circumstances you have fulfilled your role with your usual enthusiasm. You have also received a package. Would you like to open it if you haven't already done so? Well, I think you told me earlier you wanted to, but you felt compelled not to. I hope this gift, Councillor Bain, from the Mayoress and I will remind you of your time and your service with this borough. Thank you. Now then, Councillor Edwards and Councillor Watts. Like myself, you both have had risen to the role and honour of being mayors twice. We all realise that congratulations are in order, as it is and was a huge commitment. Now, would you both open your envelopes, please? Now, you have both received a badge which has the dates on them of your 2 memorial years and can be attached to your past mayoral badge and medal, which I know you will wear with pride, as all past mayors do.
Thank
Now
you very
then,
much, Mr. Mayor.
you're more than welcome. Councillor Russell Roberts, leader of the council. Now, Councillor Roberts, it has taken me a considerable amount of time in putting into words my feelings about our relationship. We first met in 2003 when we were paper candidates for the ward of William Knibb. Little did we both realise where that meeting would lead. And with your permission, I would just like to share a couple of stories of our exploits with fellow councillors, if you don't mind. Back on the campaign trail, both Councillor Roberts and I were knocking doors and leafleting. And a particular pair of doors we came to, Russell put one leaflet through one and I put a leaflet through another door. And as I moved away from the door, the leaflet came shooting back out of the letterbox. With that, I picked up said leaflet, went back to the door and knocked the door, and a very large gentleman in a string vest with a large tattoo, bald-headed, answered the door. And Russell looked at me and I looked at him. And I think Russell thought that I was going to come away with a black eye. I said to the gentleman, "Do you realise what you have just done? You have littered." We had a polite conversation and I didn't come away with a black eye. I actually came away with the gentleman's vote.
Absolutely true.
The other story I'd like to share with you this evening is that Councillor Roberts and I were going up to London to speak to a minister. Councillor Thurland was with us and a officer of this council. We duly arrived at St Pancras and hailed a taxi. Being the gentleman I am, I let Councillor Roberts go in first to sit on the nice comfy seats. Councillor Thurland went in next. Officer went across and sat down on the pull down seat. And as I got into the taxi and shut the door, I was about to sit down to pull the down, and the taxi obviously realised he'd got a slot he could get into the traffic. So he duly put his foot on the accelerator. I overbalanced, unfortunately, and my head lodged in between the legs of the Councillor Roberts. I have to say, I seemed like I was there for ages because I couldn't get up for laughing. Neither could he. The taxi man was laughing. To me, it was very funny. It probably doesn't seem funny at the time, but I shan't tell you what Councillor Roberts said to me at that particular point, but it's something that will remain with me forever. Thank you ever so much for that, Councillor.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, it's true.
It is.
Now then, Councillor Roberts, your character defines who you are. I've always found you courteous, hospitable, a caring family man, and a very good politician. Now, could you please open your package 1, please? And I have to say, it's the largest packet that any councillor has received this evening.
I'm going to go.
We did stick it down.
We did. I didn't think we did.
Yourselves, well, serious.
It's empty.
What do I say?
I didn't think it would take you this long, councillor.
Well, they're plates with some of the great things in the Buttholes Church.
They're all to do with Barton Seagrave, councillor, where you live.
Church House, that's in Barton Seagrave. There are a whole plethora of them. This is just wonderful. The War Memorial in Barton Seagrave. How
They are all to do with Barton Seagrave, where you reside, councillor. And I hope, the Mayoress and I hope that when you look upon this gift, you remember the good times that we shared together.
I'll certainly remember you in that taxi, I can assure you of.
Thank you, councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Scrimshaw. As Leader of the Opposition, I believe our relationship has been one of mutual respect, and I hope it will always be so. Now, you've received 2 packages from me. Can you open package 1, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. He's
Now-
sending money. Is this a...
Councillor, we are both, I think they call them a notarist. I think that's how you pronounce it, a collector of banknotes. I think Councillor Howes is also a collector of banknotes, by what I understand. But I hope you will look upon that gift with fond memories. Now then, councillors, I can't speak. You're very welcome. I can't speak about every councillor personally this evening, so the Mayoress and I decided to pull names from a hat, one from each political group. So, Councillor Adams, I have always personally looked forward to hear what you have had to say during debates, because you have had many valid points and generally spoken with common sense. Could you please open your envelope? Now, I understand that you are not standing in any respect of council. So I hope the gift that the Mayoress and I have given you this evening, when wearing it, you will remember the time you had at this Borough Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Councillor Groom, I understand that you are retiring from politics after so many years.
Yes.
On behalf of this council and the residents of Burton Latimer, I would like to say thank you for all your years of service.
Thank you.
Councillor Groom, in all the years I've known you, you have never raised your voice in a meeting or in the council chamber, which is a credit to you.
Thank you.
Don't ever change.
Thank you.
Could you please open your package, please? I know you're desperate. You've been wanting to do that all evening.
I haven't done, I've been very good. I have, not right now. It looks like a book, which is perfect for a librarian. Oh, right. Oh, it's Peterborough Cathedral.
You know the connections you have with Peterborough
We
Cathedral.
were married there and all our boys were baptised there, and I'm still a Sunday school teacher, so yes. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You are more than welcome.
Lovely. Thank you so much. That is really, really lovely.
Thank you, Councillor Groom. Councillor Dutton, you have surprised all of us, moving from retirement from the clergy to be elected as a councillor. And may I say, you have taken it to a duck to water. You have always contributed to the debate at all meetings. And councillor, this is no mean feat, and I commend you for it. Now, would you please open your package? I know it's rather like Christmas, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It was the best way you've ever managed to tell me that I talk too much. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Howes. The rapport that I've had with you since meeting you in 2015 as a councillor and a friend is infectious. We have so much in common: family, money, cars, jokes. In fact, the list is endless. Please, would you open package 1, please? Now, your gift of a wallet, which I don't think is large enough, it is all the mayoress and I could afford, comes from my personal Olympic collection. And if you don't use it and keep it boxed, in time, it could become very valuable as a collector's item.
I shall certainly keep it boxed, Mr. Mayor, on that advice. Everyone see that? Thank you very much.
Right, councillors, you can all open your packages, please. Councillor Roberts, could you open package 2? Councillor Scrimshaw, package 2. And Councillor Howes, package 2. It's all a load of packages tonight, isn't it? So I hope you will all look in the future, whenever you look at the gifts that the mayoress and I have given you, and think of the time you spent with the Borough Council, and think of the pride that you should all have for doing so. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, James.
That's lovely.
Thanks,
Thank you,
James.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're
Thank you,
all
Mr.
more
Mayor.
than welcome.
So gorgeous. Thank you both of you, Mr. Mayor and Mayoress.
I believe a council is only as effective as its councillors and officers, and that this Borough Council has achieved so much because of the commitment and close working relationship between officers and councillors. I therefore would like to take this opportunity to thank all the officers of this council right across the board, from the managing director to the refuse collectors, for all the hard work they have performed, which has made this Borough Council so successful in its own right. I also wish to thank all the partners and voluntary organisations who have worked tirelessly with this council over many years. I have taken the opportunity in the past week to give certificates to organisations who have contributed to this council and certificates to long-serving officers. Councillor Roberts, would you like to say something?
It wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without not getting the thing switched on, would it? Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that amazing speech. I can't follow that, so I'm not going to try. What I would like to do is to share some reflections with everybody. Anybody who knows me knows that I've got a little bit of a speech that Theodore Roosevelt made many years ago, and I keep it with me at all times. I'd like to read that and then just reflect on it. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out where the strong man stumbled or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood. At best, he knows the triumph of high achievement. If he fails, at least he fails whilst daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. It's been said earlier tonight that Kettering Borough Council came into being in 1974, 47 years ago, as part of the reform marked by the Local Government Act of 1972. It was a significant year for me too. I finished my teacher training and moved to the borough to marry my wife. I became a borough councillor in 2007 and had the privilege of becoming leader in 2011, Throughout this term in office, I was supported by Team Kettering. Excellent staff, excellent officers, great councillors, wonderful community, and of course a marvellous wife. For that I'm most grateful. Whilst this is the end of an era, we must look forward with confidence, and I know that we will all strive for an area that is safe and attractive, with a thriving economy and a green environment. For all that you've done over the years, a heartfelt thanks and best wishes to you all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. A report from the Managing Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Although there's a number of items on tonight's agenda to reflect on the history of the council, debates at full council are normally a member affair, really, so officers don't tend to say very much. But if you could just indulge me for a little while, it's not really a Managing Director's statement as such, just a few comments, if you will. So firstly, I wanted to place on record my thanks to all employees and members, both past and present, for their contribution to the council over the many years of its existence. I can't pretend to recall what happened in 1974 when the council came into existence. After all, I was only 6 at the time. In fact, I had no idea what I was doing at that point. However, it's really clear from the historical artefacts, the honours boards around the building, what a rich history the council has. The efforts of past and present mayors, leaders, chief officers have all positively contributed to that history. At Kettering, we operate a one-team approach, and as such, it doesn't feel right for me to start to do individual thanks to employees of the council. And if I'm being honest, I didn't want to do it because I'm pretty sure I'd miss somebody out and they'd take offence. It's just a general thanks to everybody, really. As a management team, we've always done our best to provide impartial, professional advice to all members of the council. As members, you may not have always agreed with it, but you've always given us the courtesy of listening to our advice, and I'd just like to say thank you for that. From a personal perspective, my 17 years here at the council have been a really interesting time. In many ways, they've gone very, very quickly. And in other ways, over the last few days, when I've been reminiscing a little bit with colleagues, they haven't gone very quickly because it seems some of it's quite a long time ago. I'd like to say thank you to the council for giving me the opportunity of being the managing director for the last 4 years. And I can honestly say that it's been one of the most enjoyable times of my career, due to the quality of the colleagues that I have around me and the supportive culture that we have at Kettering. To be honest with you, the past couple of years has been a little frustrating at times, mainly due to local government reform, just in terms of getting Kettering specific projects over the line, which has been a little bit more difficult. And obviously the last year has been very challenging due to the pandemic and our role in the multi-agency response to that. Others will no doubt judge over time whether we did a good job in that regard, but what I do know is that we all did our absolute best and we couldn't do any more. Looking forward, Mr. Mayor, it's not the organisation that really is important here. It's ensuring that our residents are treated properly, properly served, and that the new council has the right culture and approach. I would like to congratulate all those management team colleagues who've already secured new roles with the new council and wish them well. For colleagues whose futures are yet to be determined, I hope that they get clarity on that very soon. And for colleagues that are actually leaving, can I just say a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart, and wish you every success in whatever you decide to do next. For members that are standing for re-election, can I wish you good luck in that quest? I'm sure the next few weeks are going to be very interesting. And finally, from the outgoing management team, I'd like to give our best wishes and 100% support to Rob and his new management team as they embark on the next chapter of local history. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Graham. On that issue, I've actually got a thank you to you. This is a personal one now, because I have to inform this council that the official board has been sign written and is up to date. Thank you so much for that.
That's not a problem, Mr. Mayor. I can now take a picture of my own name and send it to my mother as well.
Oh dear. Now then, We have, item 8 is public speakers. We don't have any public speakers. So item 9, I'm going to allow councillors to speak. You have a 3-minute cut-off period, ladies and gentlemen. That's no different to normal. And I don't want any political statements or anything. Let's talk about this borough. Councillors, open the floor to you.
Mr. Mayor, I believe we were going to go with, are we doing it in?
Oh, sorry, we've got something else to do, haven't we? In order. We're going to do it in order. Hold on one moment. I don't think I've got
Are we having the leaders of the various parties?
I haven't got that sheet with me. So Councillor Russell Roberts first, please.
Well, Mr. Mayor, you've been very kind and let me speak already. Obviously, everything everybody said, I totally and utterly agree with. I found being a councillor at Kettering Borough Council one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And I truly didn't think I'd get through tonight because it's been an emotional time and I still feel raw about the fact that this is going to be the last one. But we've got to look to the future and not look behind us. So I'll hand over to all the rest who would like to have their 3 minutes of talk. Thank you,
Councillor. Councillor Scrimshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All of us use the word historic far too often, I'm sure. But tonight's meeting genuinely is a historic occasion. And I've got to be honest, when I first realised I'd have the opportunity to speak and say a few words tonight, my first instinct was to focus on how we're where we are and why we're where we are. But I've had plenty to say on that before elsewhere, and I think it would be rather petty or even churlish to focus on it. So rather, it's the importance that Kettering Borough Council has been for local people for generations, which is important. I hope others will speak about some of the good things the council have done over the decades and support. But in preparation, like most of us, I'm sure, I've been thinking about the history of the council and the history of both the town and the borough itself. But time and time again, I started thinking about small, personal and often private things rather than publicly known items. All of us involved in the meeting tonight will have many memories or thoughts about our own involvement with the council that might be remembering some of the great characters and friends that we've shared sitting around the council chamber with over the years, or just sort of personal comments and anecdotes, some of which we've already heard. But for most of us, I suspect the most important memories we'll have will not be the big political debates and arguments, some of which have been fun, while others were sometimes annoying and frustrating, nor will it necessarily be about the decisions that we've had a hand in that have brought changes to Kettering, changes that have been felt and hopefully appreciated by all. But for me, my favourite memories of being a councillor will be about the times I've been able to use my position to simply help local residents with their small concerns or problems. I know, like all of us, I haven't been able to get everybody everything that they've ever wanted. And sometimes I've struggled even to pass them on to others who might be able to help them. But there have been times when simply taking a few minutes for a phone call to explain what or why something is happening, even if it's something that I personally don't agree with, that's been a real benefit to people, I think, and it's helped them and it's made me feel as though perhaps I'm doing some good after all. And I'm sure, I hope, that's how every councillor who has ever sat in our chamber throughout the years has felt. And I hope in the future the councillors that come next in the new council will also enjoy that part of the job and remember that in some ways that is the most important part of the job. If we can help people and explain things to our residents, even if we're giving them bad news, we'll have done our job well. And I'd just like to finish by thanking all councillors of Kettering Borough Council, past and present, for having tried to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scrimshaw. Councillor Groom, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would actually. I mean, having been on the council since 1995, I feel a bit like the council's granny tonight. I remember a council that's punched above its weight, a council that has engaged in excellent partnership working and very innovative partnership working, and served the community well. And I think also celebrated the proud heritage of the area. Reference has already been made to the anti-slavery movement, also the Baptist Missionary Society. This area has a very proud heritage. Well, I would also like to say thank you to the staff. One of the joys of my job recently has been being chairman of the employment committee. And I think the thing I enjoyed most of all was chairing the staff awards. And it was very difficult to choose the winners because there were so many staff who had gone well beyond the call of duty in what they did. And I'm sure that all of them would probably have said, I was just doing my job. But so many employees over the years have done far more than their job and have shown real commitment and love and for the local people. So I think that I really would like to say a big thank you to the staff. All our boys came to council meetings as babies. If I could just share a slightly funny story with you. I don't suppose anybody will remember this now, but Edward used to come to council meetings as a baby. The other two did a little bit less, but BBC Look East got hold of the story of a baby at a council meeting, and they came into the council chamber and filmed us with Edward. And the mayor at the time was Bryn Morgan, and he came into the council chamber, saw all the very bright lights that the BBC use, and said, where would you like me? And they said, well, where you like, Mr. Mayor, we're filming the baby. So Edward really, I think, obviously has thought about his career at a very early stage, because he's now on the Local Government Association graduate scheme. So obviously he formed his career ideas at a very young age. But being on the council, they've been some of the very best years of my life. And thank you, all of you, for those. And as Vicky sang earlier, goodbye, my friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Groom. Right, now I'm going to throw it open to councillors who would like to speak for 3 minutes.
Is that right? Yep. Councillor Hakewell first.
Where you go.
Councillor Hakewell first. Councillor Hakewell, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hakewell, I suspect you've had your hand up since you sat down.
Correct. Mr. Mayor, just to make some comments, and obviously there is a motion coming up to be perhaps wider than that. But just speaking, if Councillor Ruth Groom, without being related, is the granny, I suppose I must be the grandpa of the council. And just to share, remembering you coming onto the council, but just to share some of my memories, when I joined the council, which was 1987, there was no A14, there was no RCI building at the top of the hill. And in fact, Tesco's was the Harriers running track. And I'm not supposed to mention too many people, but Martin Hammond was there and Anne Ireson, both were there at that particular time. I think one of the things that is most important about the council is the thousands of residents we all meet and get to know, and the opportunity to meet all those people that you would just never have expected to meet or would meet in any normal role of life. I've always enjoyed and loved bringing the rural areas into the council, and Mr. Mayor, you'll know that, sometimes perhaps dwelt too long on that particular aspect. At that time, there was no Maudsley at all, and sitting on a planning committee, one of the little stories I can remember is we sat on a planning committee, as I did, in 1989, and there was one little line on the agenda which said, in order to meet the rural housing requirement, it's possible that a new village should be considered somewhere in the borough. And if you like, that was the birth of the whole process of Maudsley. So the council has done so much over those particular years for the life and times of the borough. And I've met so many lovely people, so many lovely councillors, and perhaps dwell on that in a moment. At that time, I just would like to perhaps a little bit dedicate, Mr. Mayor, you felt a bit choked, and I know the leader did, but my father was on the council in 1973 when it was mentioned about local government change, the Redcliffe Maud report. And one of my most proud memories or aspects of being on the council is that my father was on the rural district. He came onto the borough. He was deputy mayor and mayor, and then he was leader, something which I followed some significant time later. But I would just like to dedicate these few comments to him. On August the 8th, 1979, he went to a council meeting, not in the chamber we have normally used, didn't feel well, and he collapsed and died, and couldn't even stay until he got to the hospital. Some of the things that all the members in this room will think about is, why did they become a councillor? And in a way, that was a little bit embedded into our family history. My father was on the council when I was born in 1954. And I think I came in 1987. There were a few things that I thought I would like to do as a councillor. So I dedicate those few words, Mr. Mayor, to my father and all that he gave to the council. And thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Hakewell.
Councillor Hollowbone, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hollowbone.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for your outstanding service as the Borough Mayor on 2 occasions. Praise all the councillors and officers who've been involved with the council. And I'm sure that all of us who are councillors realise how blessed we've been with such an outstanding senior management team over the years. I think Kettering has done lots of things really well. Impossible to mention all of them, but surely all of us are proud of the local parks, gardens, children's play areas, and our superb tree team. We've got one of the best customer service centres in the country. The council answers the phone after 3 rings. We've frozen the council tax since 2010. The Electoral Services Department is one of the very best in the whole country. Planning policy and planning applications have been dealt with in a superbly efficient way. The Housing Department and efforts to prevent homelessness have been outstanding. We've got best-in-class residence parking schemes and street wardens, and an excellent household waste and recycling team. All of these things have been done really, really well. The other nice thing about Kettering Borough Council is that whilst we're all, or most of us, party politicians, in the chamber, all of us have had at our heart the interests of local people. And we haven't really ever descended into national hostile party politics, which has been a real blessing. And if I could say, Mr. Mayor, that I know firsthand how highly regarded Kettering Borough Council is by the government, both ministers and civil servants. And it's certainly true that for a relatively small council, we've always punched well above our weight as far as national government is concerned. Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's a very sad passing for the council. Really, we've all been let down by the county council. And it's very, very sad that in the establishment of the new Northamptonshire Council, whilst a bad council is disappearing, a very good council in Kettering Borough Council is disappearing at the same time. But in many ways, Kettering Borough Council's last year has been amongst its best. The KBC response to the pandemic has been exemplary. I think Kettering was 6th best in the whole country for getting grant aid out to local businesses in record time. Huge amounts of time have been spent on reorganisation into the new council, and £8 million through the Heritage Action Zone and the GLAM projects has been pumped into Kettering Town Centre. But finally, Mr. Mayor, could I say that I really hope that in the new council, the DNA from Kettering Borough Council is firmly injected. And if it is, the person we have to thank is our leader, Councillor Russell Roberts, who has worked his socks off over the last few years to make Kettering Borough Council one of the very best councils in the country. And I hope that heritage is passed on to the new council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollowbone.
Councillor Mark Deering.
Councillor Deering.
Mr. Mayor, Mrs. Mayor, thank you so much for this. I'm so sorry that you've put me on after Councillor Hollowbone, because really he's stolen my speech, of course. And so I must thank him for that. So I don't need 3 minutes this. I just want to say thank you very much to yourselves. Thank you to the leader. Thank you to all our officers, all the backroom staff for such a marvellous job over the years. You know, I'm not the eldest. I'm not the youngest as a councillor. I joined in 2003. It's had its highs, its lows and its frustrations as always. But I am so proud to have had the opportunity to have served the people of Desborough and to have achieved what we've achieved and to be able to have done what I can do for them. And I, you know, hope that we go on and we take this, you know, the essence of Kettering Borough Council into the new unitary and that we run that and lead that as well as we have done for Kettering Borough Council. So I thank you all for listening to me and I wish everybody the best wherever they may end up. So thank you.
Councillor Deering.
Councillor Scott Edwards, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to say 14 years I've served on this council and I've absolutely had a fantastic time. As you will know, 2 years of that serving as Mayor of the Borough of Kettering has been an absolute highlight of my career at Kettering Borough Council, meeting so many people that give so much to this borough that go unsung. Many of those actually don't want praise because they enjoy what they're doing and they just get on and do it. And I guess now's my opportunity to say thank you to them because they do an absolute amazing job. Colleagues throughout Kettering Borough Council, past and present, many of you will know that when I was a wee tot, I visited the Mayor's Parlour when I was a Cub Scout, and John Faller was the Mayor at that time. And I went home to my mum and dad and I said, I'm going to be Mayor one day. I want to say thank you to you all because you gave me that opportunity for my dream to come true. And when we had youth organisations come and visit us in the parlour, I used to tell them that story because I used to say to them, you know, dream big, do what you want to do. And if you want to do it, you will be successful. And Kettering Borough Council has given me that opportunity to do it. And of course, there's one other person that I really need to thank. And of course, that's my wife, Eve. You know, Eve has been there through thick and thin for the past 14 years. She's delivered leaflets. She's waited up for me when I've been home late for a meeting. She's taken residence calls. She didn't enter the political platform, but she has served me, sorry, that's the wrong word. She has supported me throughout this. And I would like to say thank you to her. And I'm sure you all feel the same about your families and your loved ones. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards.
Councillor Linda Adams.
Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for giving me this opportunity. So really, I mean, I just want to extend my thanks, as everybody else has said before, and to just share a couple of funny things that come to my mind on this night of the last council. So the very first time I spoke in the council chamber, we'll go to first, which was the night of a by-election in 2002. And I was very apprehensive. I was very worried. And somebody came to me at the end of the count and said that I'd got to make a speech and I'd got to say thank you and I'd got to remember to thank certain people. So to start with, I thought they were joking, but no, they thrust a microphone into my hand and walked away. So I thought, no, this is not a joke, Linda, you've got to say something. So I duly racked my brains and remembered who I'd got to thank, and I thanked the police and the returning officer. And then I went to thank my canvassers, but completely couldn't think of the word canvassers, and Maggie might remember this. So I actually thanked my street walkers, and the whole room just went into a stunned silence. And I thought, maybe that was not the best choice of words for my very first speech in the council chamber. And the second thing really that I'd like to share was a little journey that I had with Mary Mayling. And we went on training together. We went on licensing training. And we'd served on several committees together, and I'd always been on planning, and planning has always been a conversation about traffic and car parking, and it still hasn't changed. It's still exactly the same. But I mean, this makes me laugh even now. We drove. She drove to Rushden, and she said, "I'll take you home, Linda." So I said, "Oh, that's very kind, Mary. You can drop me at the corner." She said, "No, I will take you home." Well, if anybody who knows Kettering, I live in Connaught Street, which is probably one of the very worst areas of car parking that you could ever possibly think of. And we turned into the street, and Mary was just horrified, absolutely horrified. And she said, "Where do you park, Linda?" And I said, "Well, just wherever you can, Mary." She said, "But I'm not very good at reverse parking and getting in between two cars." And I said, "Well, just drop me on the corner here, and that will be absolutely fine." And she looked at me and she said, "Do you know, Linda, this is why we need people like you on the council, because you understand these things from the other side." And I got out of the car and I thought, I'm not sure whether that's a compliment or an insult. But the next time I saw her, Mary must have thought the same. And she came over to me and said, "Linda, I'm horrified at what I said to you. There's nothing wrong with your street at all, or where you live, or who you are." And we just both burst into fits of laughter. And I trotted off and got her a cup of tea, because I always used to get her a cup of tea. So they're just a couple of things that I want to share that put a smile on my face, and always will. Clearly need to thank my family, because without my husband's support, I wouldn't have been able to attend all the meetings and all the leafleting and everything that's entailed with being a councillor. So, but yeah, just great opportunities, great laughs, and just loads of great memories. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Adams.
Councillor Dutton.
Councillor Dutton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to take my 3 minutes, I promise. In 2016, I went down to London because I thought I ought to find out more about this Brexit stuff. And I was going to a debate which was going to be addressed by Ian Duncan Smith and various people. And I thought I might learn something. Anyway, I went a long way and the debate was cancelled. And the reason it was cancelled, because sadly on that day, Jo Cox, MP, was killed. And words which she used in her maiden speech, I think apply very much to this chamber here. We are far more united and have far more in common than that which divides us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Dutton.
Councillor Maggie Don.
Councillor Don.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like you, I might struggle emotionally with this, but I'll do my best, and you'll have to forgive me if I don't get it completely right. But I think it would be remiss of me, on behalf of the opposition, not to pick out our leader, Councillor Scrimshaw. All of you will be aware that he's very poorly and not standing in any election. He's been our group leader for many years, for which we as the opposition have been truly grateful for. But more than that, he's made a valuable contribution to the whole council. Mick, as most of you know, is now extremely poorly and therefore not standing. He needs to look after himself and his family. Therefore, I hope you will all join me and our group in wishing him the very best of everything as he moves on, and he will be sorely missed by everyone in this chamber as friend and colleague. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Here, Maggie.
Well said, Councillor
Here,
Don.
Maggie.
And we all concur with your speech. Seriously, thank you for that. And thank you for being not getting too emotional. I've managed to hold on to it. You've managed to hold on to it. And that's what it's all about. Thank you, Councillor Don.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark Mitchell.
Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, I won't use my 3 minutes either. The proudest moment of my life was when I was elected to be a councillor on Kettering Borough Council. Something that I never thought would happen to me. As a councillor, it feels like a lot of what I do is I walk around the wards, take photographs, report them, and then get thanked by the residents as if I've actually done the work. The gratitude and the excellence of the officers and the employees of Kettering Borough Council never ceases to amaze me. And as I say, it's with great pride that I call myself currently a borough councillor at KBC. And if Councillor Hakewell and Councillor Groom are the grandfather and grandmother of this council, I'm one of the babies, only having been elected in 2015. And I am so glad that I've met such a great group of people, such a great group of workers. Yes, we have political differences, but we all work for the town as best we can, as has been said. I'm been privileged to get onto both planning and licensing, which are some of the things that affect people, and the excellence of the reports that come through in both of those, again, never ceases to amaze me. So I just want to say thank you and well done to all the staff a lot of the staff who will be very nervous about their futures. Thank you, and thank you. And I'm going to have to stop now because I'm going to get emotional as well.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell.
Councillor Leslie Thurland.
Councillor Thurland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like Clark, we're talking about ages, and I'm perhaps one of the oldest ones on here, but one of the babies. And I would just like to say, sorry, when I became a councillor, you stood by me because there was only me to start with, and I'd like to say thank you for that. And I'm glad I wasn't the person you fell into in the taxi, because you wouldn't be telling the story tonight. I'm glad it was Councillor Roberts. You know how helpful Lorraine has been to you, and you couldn't have done what you did and have done. And I'm the same with Kevin. So I would just like to say we will miss you, not just because of the organisation of the things that we go to, the parties and that, but when you get your words mixed up, that is really funny. And I'd just like to say thank you for the friends that we've made. And I think whether we come on to the new council or not, some of the workers that we've made friends with, and the officers and the members, we should still be friends after all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thurland. I think Councillor Davis is next.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lots of very wise words said tonight, lots of reflection. I've been sat here reflecting on my own journey as one of the babies, I think the baby of the 2015 intake. And what a journey it's been personally for me. I've grown. Will always be grateful for having been able to serve my hometown as a councillor and walk around the area and see things that I've been able to achieve, working with so many interesting people across the chamber, across parties, with officers, lots of fascinating, interesting people that I've met on this journey. Whatever the future holds, I'll always hold dear my time on this council and being able to serve the community that we all love. And it's been a pleasure as well working with yourself, Mr. Mayor, and the Mayoress, and everyone here tonight, and of course people who are no longer with us. And I will just always be grateful to the residents of Brambleside who put me here in the first place. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I just wanted to say it's been an amazing journey. Having you as mayor and your mayoress has just been wonderful. I want to say thank you to all the councillors for this wonderful journey that we've been on in shaping a wonderful borough. And I can't go without saying that it's been an amazing journey sitting on planning and planning policy and hoping that we make the right decisions to get the right homes in the right places. That has been a tremendous journey. And I can't help but think of when I was just mayor of Best and Nassau Town Council and I was told off for sitting on my kayak on the river and getting my chains a bit wet because I decided to go kayaking when we had the Burton Duck Race. So I have some very fond memories of the things that we've done, everything that we've achieved, trying to do the right thing and make sure that we have the right things in the right place has been awesome. And the symbiosis that we've had with our officers and with fellow councillors has been tremendous. We should be proud of all we've achieved. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to all our mayors for everything you've done to put us on the map. Not just in Britain, but I think around the world, to be honest. It's been incredible, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bundy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the most enduring comments or statements that was made, not to me, but to my wife in 2003 when I was elected, which I think echoes an awful lot of what a lot of other councillors have said this evening, and that is Mary Freer, who turned to my wife and said, well, you might as well say goodbye to your husband for the next few years then. And unlike us councillors who can go away, get into our own huddles and shout at each other and everything else, or even the officers, and I know the officers, they have no right of reply, but I'm sure they get in their rooms together and they throw things at walls and get cross and everything else. Our wives, partners, husbands have to put up and bear the brunt of everything that we do and everything that happens, and we come home and we tell them all about it, and they probably don't want to listen to it, but they have to. So I think there's a big thank you for all of them, because they've had to put up with a lot. And I think Mary was very right when she said that to my wife. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bundy. Councillor Jelly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, from my perspective, it's been an honour and a privilege to serve the residents of Kettering as the Kettering Borough Council or councillor. And I agree with Councillor Scrimshaw. You know, it's about trying to make a difference for the residents and helping them where you can. I would just like to pay tribute to Councillor Mick Scrimshaw. He's been an exemplary leader of the opposition. We've had many debates across the chamber, and you know, he will be sorely missed as a councillor. I think as a councillor, he has been absolutely admirable in what he's done for his local residents, and I wish him every health, wealth, and best wishes for the future. And I would just like to say, I think from the councillor's perspective, it's good that, you know, we have worked so closely with the voluntary sector going forward, because they do so much good for the local residents in all of the borough. And I would just like to finally say to you, Mr. Mayor and Madam Mayoress, and to all of the previous mayors and mayoresses of this borough, for the work that you have done in promoting the borough, and you've been absolutely exemplary. Thank you very much indeed for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be quick. I just wanted to thank all fellow councillors for the help and advice that they've given me since I joined in 2015. Thankfully, unlike Councillor Adams, I wasn't asked to do a speech on when I was elected. What I wasn't expecting was the big kiss on the lips from Councillor Michael Brown, though. But again, thank you to all the councillors on all sides who've given me help and advice over the years, and the officers. Your advice and help has been outstanding. I would like to thank all the members of the planning committee, past and present, as chair, that I was very remiss last night in thanking them last night, especially Councillor Shirley Stanton, who's been excellent over the years as chair, and I've learnt a lot from her. And finally, a thank you to all the tenants who turn up to the Tenants Forum every month to help us shape how we help our council tenants moving forward. I'd personally like to thank them again. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rowley. As you know, I'd like to tell fellow councillors that you allowed me to come along to the last Tenants Forum meeting, where I thanked all the tenants on behalf of this council for all the hard work they'd actually put in the Tenants Forum. And I thank you once again for letting me do that. Councillor Morton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to echo everything that's been said. You know, it really sums up the council. You know, all the fact that so many people have so many good things to say tells you that's why we're such a good council. You know, in everyone that I have worked with, especially the officers and members of the staff of Kettering Borough Council, I can honestly say I have not had any complaint whatsoever. They have always been first class. And if they do that to me, I'm sure they do it to all the residents. And that is what has made the success of this council, the fact that people wanted to be polite, wanted to help people. And that's all I'd like to say. I think they did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Councillor Morton.
Councillor Talbot has been waving her hand for a bit, unbeknownst to me, because she's on the second screen, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Talbot, we haven't forgotten you. Apparently you're on the second screen. I couldn't see you, but you now may talk. If you unmute yourself.
Councillor Talbot, you're still muted.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, you can hear me. And I'd like to say welcome to Lorraine, your mayoress. I came on the council in 2007, and since then I have been on licensing. So yes, there have been ups and downs, as I'm sure you realise with licensing. When I became mayor, 2011, 2012, that was a very proud moment for myself and my husband David. We strengthened the links between Kettering, Ohio and Lanstein in Germany. And I do hope that these links are not lost when we become into the unitary. Obviously, the other councils will also have links with other towns. And just to say that I'm still in touch with the Kettering Sister City Board via email in Kettering, Ohio. And I'd like to wish the twinning people all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Talbot. Are you all happy then, councillors? You've all had your say?
Mm-hmm.
No more hands? Right, we shall move on then to item 9, which is, no, it isn't, it's item 10. I'm behind at item 9. Motions. To consider the motions received, we've got 2 motions this evening, and the first one is proposed by Councillor Hakewell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion that I propose is that on the occasion of Kettering Borough Council's historic last full council meeting, this council acknowledges a debt of gratitude to all the councillors and officers who have served local people since its creation in 1974. Mr. Mayor, we've already heard significant comment from across the chamber, or should I say across the internet virtually, about the debt of gratitude that we should hold for all of those councillors who have served before us and are sitting here and serving today. I think, as the Chief Executive said, the Managing Director said, it would be impossible to mention everybody because you'll inevitably miss some out. But I think everyone here could contribute some of the names of the people who were here in those early days and throughout the life of this council. And I think, from my point of view, one of the main people was Councillor Terry Freer, who was leader of this council. He was certainly leader of the council when I joined. All the work and effort that he put in. And there are many other names which will perhaps be unbeknown to many colleagues here. Jock Elliott, who was one of the driest and best sense of humour councillors that I can remember. Jeff Pentelow, Cecil Brown. There was John Meads, who Councillor Groom will remember and know, being independent. And also Terry Freeman, who was a Liberal Democrat, and he was a leader of the group going back in time. And whilst being a little bit of a nemesis, I shouldn't forget to mention Phil Sawford, who was MP for Kettering, but also was leader of this council. It was lovely that we could have completely opposing views, but at the same time, we both loved, had similar backgrounds and cared for this borough. So it was great that he was there as a leader and also became our MP. And Councillor Adams has already mentioned Mary Malin, who was always larger than life and such good counsel over the years, and many fun times like with the mayor, with Mary Malin and her sense of humour. So we have an enormous debt of gratitude to councillors all the way from 1974 right up to the current day, and those of us who are sitting here and serving at this time. We don't know who will be on the new unitary council. The only people who know that are the electorate, who will be no doubt anxious and waiting to place their crosses on different members' names or potential members' names. I think it's also fair to say that whilst it's easy to be critical, we have other councils around us, and equally the county council, which also disappears now. And there are a number of us like Councillor Scrimshaw and Councillor Edwards who have worked and served on the county council, and many people over the years. And there were many good things about the county council, and it's easy to be critical of, but very easy with hindsight. So I think also we should thank those people over the years who have been both borough and county councillors. And in that context, I would certainly mention Christopher Groom, Ruth's husband, who was both a borough councillor and a county councillor, serving on both of those, but serving the people of Burton Latimer and across as mayor, and also as both as mayor over time, reflecting independence of thought without being consigned to one political party or another. The other councillors I think we should mention in this are the parish councillors. We have 20 or so parish and town councils who have been crucial, Mr. Mayor, to working with us, feeding back, giving us scrutiny on things, particularly as Councillor Adams said, about planning and other issues, but have always been there and have worked in a dedicated fashion. And many of us have sat on town parish councils as well. I'd also like to add my thoughts and comments to Councillor Mick Scrimshaw. We've enjoyed, again, when we talk there, of being on both councils, and I've enjoyed his good counsel over the years and would commend him as well. The motion also talks of the officers who have served. And when I say officers, I mean across the whole of the council and those employees as well. Going back in time, Peter Williams, and you can't have the last full council meeting of Kettering Borough without mentioning the name David Cook. David Cook, very much larger than life, perhaps Marmite in some ways, but the best 4 years of my time at the council was as leader, and David Cook, of course, was chief executive at that time. And we did get an awful lot of things done. We changed a lot of the face of the borough. I don't know where David is and whether he's listening or whether he's linked into YouTube at the moment, but gratitude to him, and of course Graham and Martin and Lisa and others as well.
Could you sum up, please, Councillor? You've had well over 3 minutes, please.
Oh, I thought I had 5 as a mover.
You got, oh, I do apologise. You've got another 2 then, by the look of it. You've had 5, Councillor. Would you just like to sum up then, Councillor? Apparently you have had 5.
The three was good. As I was about to sum up, Mr. Mayor, all those employees who are dedicated to making our borough look beautiful, operate beautifully, and look after those who become vulnerable in our environment. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Hapeville. Councillor Lee.
Thank you. Right, a veritable army of councillors have marched, walked, or rolled through the door of Bowling Green Road. And there was also one guided by a guide dog. I remember that, Alan. Most of the work the councillors do is not really seen by the electorate. An even bigger army of officers has worked here, and I dare say that most of the work that officers do is not seen by the electorate, or not even by the councillors. I remember David Cook taking me quickly through the corridors of the building in Bowling Green Road, but I did not get to see what happened behind the doors. Two things make me sad. Firstly, we as councillors, we don't know exactly yet who is staying, who is going. We've heard of some appointments, but we don't know yet about everyone, and I can understand there are reasons for that. But also because we are not physically in the building, I cannot give flowers or cards to the people. Well, I can send cards, but chocolates, Belgian chocolates to the officers who have helped so much. And it's a bit sad that we're not physically together. But this is a huge thank you to the officers who have delivered so many services over the years. And I had a list of them, but I'm not going to repeat it. I just hope you all back this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. I don't think we need to debate this motion because I'm sure this is going to be unanimous. Are you all happy to go straight to the... Yes?
Yeah,
go straight to... All right, Councillor Talbot, you want to say something?
No, I'm putting my hand up to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. So if we go straight to... Who is for this motion, please?
I've got a full set of hands on page 1 and a full set of hands on page 2.
So that is passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll go to motion 2. Councillor Don.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess it will be no surprise to anyone here this evening at this final meeting of our council for me to be moving this motion. As many of you are aware, I worked for over 25 years for Kettering Centre for the Unemployed. Initially, I was employed by this council to run the centre, which was a fledgling organisation then. KCU later gained its independence and has flourished ever since, despite the massive row with KBC about the use of the building in Station Road. But that's in the past, we won't go there tonight. But you'll all remember it. However, I've also been very involved with many other voluntary organisations too. I have harangued many of you into sponsoring me, but be assured I will never, ever abseil down that tower in Northampton, ever, ever again. You've done it, that's the end of it. I've asked for raffle prizes, chocolate goodies for Easter tombolas, and many of you have given me unwanted gifts and cast-offs with value and life beyond your use, all of which I've been truly grateful for. I've encouraged some of you to use your ward initiative funds to support the valuable services provided by voluntary organisations too. I'm sure you will also all be aware of volunteers in your wards who are providing valuable services and support, and many of you have mentioned them this evening. We are always stronger together. So to see the huge number of local services joined together now as part of Kettering's Futures Partnership is a big deal, which I truly hope will continue to grow and flourish. We are also far more effective when we cooperate with others. Councillor Edwards and I have cooperated with each other on many occasions to provide funding or physical support for events in our ward. In many cases, voluntary organisations are actually better placed in the heart of the community to provide services that the local authority can't. But by supporting them and working in partnership, it gets to the core of the needs, Mr. Mayor. This past year has been tough on everyone here in the borough, and nationally, charities have really taken a huge hit, with very limited fundraising being able to take place. But at the same time, their care and support have been in even greater demand. However, even more people have stepped up to volunteer and provide food, meals and emotional support. The motion only mentions a few of the many organisations. There are far too many to list them all, and doesn't a single one of the thousands of individuals who give so much in time and effort. So as we approach the end of Kettering Borough Council, and I ask you to support this motion, it is not really a motion, because no one can disagree with this, as it's more a huge public statement of simply saying a big thank you to everyone, past, present and the future, for the added value volunteers and their organisations have given to the borough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if that's the last time I'll ever have to say thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Don. I wonder if that would be the last time I have to say that to you, Councillor. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be brief again. It has never been more clear than in the previous year that voluntary organisations, including the partners of Kettering Borough Council, have the values that are the glue keeping our society together. The list could be much expanded. Cransley Hospice, the Samaritans, British Heart Foundation, the Cadets, of course, Aid UK, Neighbourhood Watch, the youth movements, the list goes on. And Councillor Magidon has already spoken very eloquently. All I wanted to add is that I hope the new unitary authority will fully recognise how much our communities depend on the voluntary organisations and act early to coordinate and continue the partnership with these organisations. Many of them are indeed struggling to get by on a shoestring since fundraising has been so difficult in the previous year, whereas the need for their services has been so high. I hope you'll support this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. On that issue of Kettering Future Partnership, I think I should tell the whole council that the Mayoress and I actually presented a certificate to Kettering Future Partnership for all the years that it's been running, and it's the umbrella, so it's for everybody within that partnership. And she received it only yesterday, and she will tell all the other partners that it's come from the Borough Council. So if we go to the motion, then I don't think anybody on this one is going to disagree. Can we go straight into we're not going to debate it. Let's go straight into the.
Do you have 3 hands up, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, we do. I apologise. Councillor Edwards. Sorry, Councillor.
It's okay, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Don. I couldn't have said it better. And I have to say, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you as well. I know you're not standing for the unitary, but we have achieved so much within St Michael's and Wicksteed, and I thank you. You know, we are opposites on the political spectrum, but together we make a formidable team, along with Councillor Henson. So thank you for that. I just want to say thank you to a particular volunteer that resides within St Michael's and Wicksteed, and as also an employee of Kettering Borough Council. Kelly Mercer has done an absolutely outstanding job, particularly during this pandemic, in providing a food bank for the Highfield area. She has gone out of her way to provide families with food, with support, as well as keeping down 2 full-time jobs. She's done an outstanding job, and I know that she has been awarded the Rose of the Shires, but I wanted to put on record tonight my thanks for her dedication for this cause. That's not to say that so many other people do so many fantastic things, and there are so many volunteers out there, and I want to say a huge thank you to them as well. And if anything, that this pandemic has shown that communities work together, and that has certainly worked throughout this. And so I want to say publicly thank you to everybody who has given 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hours, whatever time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Roberts.
Yes, a lot of what's just been said was what I was going to say. Maggie, you do appreciate, I know we've talked a lot about this, we do appreciate the voluntary sector and the services that we offer. And that's why already the new unitary has recognised that the voluntary sector is a vital part of the service offering that we're going to give, and the budget has been increased already. When I first became a councillor, there was the local strategic partnership, and that's gone from strength to strength. And you mentioned it yourself, Maggie, and I'm glad you did mention Kettering Futures Partnership. It's a fantastic coming together, and I'm very pleased to be given the opportunity. Thank you, Maggie, for giving me the opportunity of showing that I fully support volunteering in all its guises throughout the whole of this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Hakewell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's probably the last time you'll need to say that one as well.
I'll breathe a sigh of relief, Councillor.
Well, get elected. We could always try for the future. I just really wanted to compliment those voluntary organisations throughout the years that have worked so hard. But most importantly, this year, at the end of, we just marked a whole year from March the 23rd of COVID in our country and across the world. And I'd just like to mark all those groups that rose up almost from nowhere in order to look after their friends and neighbours and be of comfort to those people who were suffering with isolation or even worse. So very much all of those groups. One organisation, I think Councillor Edwards and you, Mr. Mayor, as well, shouldn't pick them out, but others have mentioned others. Home Start in the borough of Kettering, an amazing organisation giving those families that need that help a start in life. So I very much hope that we will carry forward that reliance, if you like, on voluntary organisations and do our very best to recognise that they are part of the network of community that makes our place, our borough, our towns and villages so great to live in. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hakewell. Councillor Thurland.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to not forget that we are on outside bodies. As members, we are on the boards of outside bodies, and I think most of those are the voluntary sector, but they really do appreciate the input that we have to them and how we can help them. And that's another thing that I would think that we should take forward, like we do with the voluntary sector and the Kettering Futures Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Right, I think, is that all we have, David?
Just checking page 2, Chair. Mr. Gatz? Yeah, nobody else.
Right, we'll go to the motion then. All four.
Full set of hands. Full set of hands.
So that motion is passed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Right, we now come on to the Mayoress, my wife. Now, the Mayoress, before she says a poem that was actually read at the inauguration of Kettering Borough Council in 1974, I just want to say a few words, if I may. Did you know I was going to do this, darling? The truth of the matter is that behind every good mayor is a mayoress, and without a mayoress, one finds one not being able to dress properly, not being able to actually write one's speech properly because one can't spell, and various other things. So it's a huge thank you for the second time for the Mayoress to be with me in this chamber. Once before, a small gift was given. Graham, is it possible behind here? Would you mind? This evening, I've got two small gifts for the Mayoress. The first is something that she doesn't get enough from the Mayor, which is this. You can all see that, which is a bunch of flowers, which unfortunately the Mayoress doesn't get a lot of. There you are, sweetheart. And the second thing I want to give this evening, ah dear. Now you see, a thing with flowers is they actually can die. So the gift suddenly disappears. You've got nothing to show for it. So we're having our garden revamped. And I've noticed the other day there was a clematis that had died. So I've gone out specially to find this special clematis, which is called the Perfect Mayoress. And believe that, if you will. So please have that as well, Lorraine, and plant that in our garden. So every time that we both look at it, we should remember our time at Kettering Borough. The Mayoress now will read this poem. And would you please take notice of the last line, which has been changed?
It's from the Charter of Incorporation to Kettering in 1938 by George Harrison, not a Beatle. Swiftly, the years have passed. Our town has grown and spread to scenes our sires would scarce have known. With ordered roads, wide and busy streets, cool flowering gardens, set by green retreats where age may rest, and children blithe and gay gather the pleasures of a sunlit day. In these proud days, we would not now forget her sons, who for their town and county set the seal of freedom and the pride of art. The joy of living for the nobler part of shedding knowledge for the growing race, that each may give in his appointed place some task to help the great world's every need, making the love for all our common creed. And now the honour to our town has come to give simple pride to every home, that born of service from the fruitful years, a large sphere for future zeal appears, that we may live in unison and peace, to mould each purpose for a wise increase of faith and trust, for all we hope to be as councillors in one wise unitary.
Thank you for that. Beautifully read, Mayoress, lovely.
Thank you.
Now then, councillors, during our term of office, we have met many talented people from all walks of life, and one of them will be singing the concluding song this evening, if it all goes according to plan. But before I introduce him, I need to inform you of his plans to reinstate the defunct 100-year-old Kettering and District Eisteddfod. Its new name will be the North Northamptonshire Music Festival. This festival will take place over 2 days at the London Road United Reformed Church in Kettering. He thinks that all the talent this town and county has to offer is wasted because the vital platform of the Eisteddfod is missing. Therefore, his vision is to bring it back, making it bigger and better than ever before. Myself and the Mayoress have just been given the honour of becoming patrons of the new venture, and we are so very proud to do so. I'm therefore asking you all to support his vision. The new festival slogan is "Music gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything." So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Joshua Daniel, the tenor, who is going to sing "Time to Say Goodbye," and I've asked him to sing the English version. God willing.
Bear with me, Mr. Mayor. Technology is not playing ball. I'm assuming you can see Joshua.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so the video has decided that pressing play isn't sufficient to make it do anything. So bear with me while I shut it down and try and open it again.
Chat amongst yourselves.
You might have to sing it. Are you going to sing at the new festival then,
There's a bit more movement.
I love technology.
Oh, isn't it wonderful? Here we go. Can you see him yet?
We can see him, but he's not singing.
All ready?
He's not moving at all. hearts are missing. Yes, I know that in our room so full of light that all the light is missing. But I don't see you with me. Close up the windows, bring the sun to my room. Through the door you've opened, close inside of me, the light you see, that you met in the darkness. Time to say goodbye. Horizons are never far. Would I have to find them alone, without true light of my own with you? I will go on ships overseas that I now know. No, they don't exist anymore. It's time to say goodbye. When you were so far away, I sat alone and dreamt of the horizon. Then I know that you were here with me, building bridges over land and sea. Shine a blinding light for you and me, for us to see. Time to say goodbye. Horizons are never far. Would I have to find them alone, without true light of my own with you? I will go on ships overseas that I now know. No, they don't exist anymore, without true light of my own with you. I will go. Horizons are never far. Would I have to find them alone, without true light of my own with you? I will go.
The voice of Joshua Daniel. Thank you, Joshua, for singing us out. Not a dry eye in the chamber. Now then, item 12, matters of urgency. And would you believe I've got 2 matters of urgency this evening? That's the first time I've actually had a matter of urgency. The first one is to inform this council that I get my COVID vaccine tomorrow morning. So we're looking forward to that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, many councillors will know the name of Professor Sarah Gilbert. Here in Kettering, we are immensely proud of what she and her team have achieved in producing a world-class vaccine in an amazing short space of time. To celebrate and commemorate this momentous achievement, I have had a stone laid in the historic timeline, and I propose to dedicate this stone on the 29th of March at 10:30. And I have the honour of both the Lord Lieutenant and the High Sheriff of Northamptonshire actually attending that dedication, which I'm so proud of. That is going to be one of the most important things that I have done in this mayoral year. Now then, and item 13, ladies and gentlemen. So before I bring this meeting to its conclusion, may I just thank the Lord Lieutenant and the High Sheriff of Northamptonshire for their attendance this evening. Also, my sincere thanks to all councillors and officers for all their service and support during my terms as a councillor. At the end of this month, Kettering Borough Council ceases to exist and the new Northamptonshire Unitary Authority is born. We, its proud councillors, shout to one, farewell, and to the other, welcome. I hope you all stay well and safe. And now, for the very last time, I declare this full council meeting of the Borough Council closed. Good night, everybody.